Good buzz YouTube, happy Wednesday to all my hackers. Hopefully all having a good day today. Now, as you can see from the team preview, we have an Ubers battle, and I'm running a fairly defensive team as my opponent is running a fairly offensive team. So the real only threats I see on my opponent's team is going to be the Mewtwo and the Ho, depending if he is a sub-roost. Mewtwo just because I really have nothing that wants to take any 2 hits from it, and sub-roost Ho definitely does pose a bit of a threat to this team. But besides that, I'm pretty sure I can deal with the remainder of his team, and as you can see, it's going to be defense against offense, so I guess we're going to see who pulls out the victory, guys. Let's get right into the battle. I will be leading off with my Groudon, as my opponent will be leading off with his Dialga. Now, the reason why I led off with my Groudon was because I knew I could freely get up my Sun as well as being able to get up my Stealth seeing as Groudon basically deals with a good majority of his team, and I can take a single hit from his team, as he does opt to lead off with Dialga. And instead of going for the rocks, I make the stupid play and go for the Earthquake, even though it was very, very obvious. So now, because I don't want this Ho to get behind a substitute, I'm actually going to stay in and I'm going to go for the Stone Edge, which was also very risky because I could have missed. As you see there, he doesn't turn out to have Life Orb and doesn't turn out to have Leftover, so I know he's more than likely going to be Scarfed, because if he was Banded, then that Sacred Fire should have been an easy 2 KO, but because I know I should be able to live a second one, I'm going to stay in and I'm going to get on my Stealth Rocks as I do die off to the burn. So I just potentially wasted my Groudon for no good reason, which really does suck, but now I can get a free switch out into my Latios. Even though he is in the Sun, I do still resist the Sacred Fire, so I know I should be able to take one, and I'm just going to go straight for the Dragon Pulse, but he actually opts to bring in the Fortress. And now, because Latios and Ubers doesn't tend to carry Hidden Power Fire, I'm actually going to stay in and I'm going to be able to just utterly annihilate this Fortress. And the only reason I do carry Hidden Power Fire is just because of Fortress and Ferrothorn in Ubers, as he does opt to bring in the Arceus. And from PO experience, people always like to go for a Sword Dance on my Latios, so I know that's more than likely what he's going to go for, and I'm actually going to go for the Roar. Unfortunately for me, I roar him out to the Zekrom, which is really scary because if he is Scarfed, he can easily OHKO me with the Outrage, so I'm actually going to switch into my Fortress, but he makes his own switch out into the Ho, which automatically tells me that his Zekrom is banded, and then the Ho ends up dying off to the Rocks, which I actually thought he had Regenerator. So after Regenerator, he should have been up to a point where maybe he was going to be able to live the Rocks, so maybe he mishapped it, I'm not too sure, or maybe I'm just doing the math wrong in my head. But now he's going to bring in his Mewtwo, as I'm going to get up a Lair Spike just because I want to see what he wants to do, and he ends up going for the Calm Mind, and the following turn is going to go for the Fire Blast, as I actually go for the Volt Switch as opposed to going for another Lair Spikes, just because a Lair Spikes and Rocks is already enough entry hazards for me, and I know I will be able to save my Fortress basically as death fodder for later on in this battle, as I'm going to bring in my Lugia. And because he's carrying the Fire Blast, I know he's more than likely not going to be carrying the Ice Beam, but to my surprise, he actually ends up carrying both, which means he's more than likely not carrying the Aura Sphere, which is some good scouting information as I'm able to get the Toxic off. But because at +1 in multi-skill range, Ice Beam did around 49%, I know I will more than likely not be able to take another one, so I'm actually going to pull a switch out to my Fortress just basically as death fodder, allowing me to get some more Life Orb recoil and some more Toxic recoil. But he ends up pulling his own double switch out to Dialga, which is a bit questionable because now the Mewtwo is going to be a whole lot easier to work around with, as I'm just going to leave him Fortress basically as death fodder, and he's going to OHKO me with the Fire Blast, as I can get a free switch out into my Latios. And knowing that he more than likely is going to go for the Rocks, I'm actually going to stay in and I'm going to go for the Dragon Pulse. And what I should have done was actually gone for the Hidden Power Fire, because as you're about to see this turn, it ends up doing a bit more than Dragon Pulse did before, and I actually thought Dragon Pulse would do more just because it is stab, but then again, Hidden Power Fire is boosted by the Sun, and they're both neutral on Dialga. So knowing that I could take a Draco Meteor, which is actually why I stayed in the following turn, I should be able to take another one. Now this was a bit risky because he could have turned out to be mixed with the Outrage, which means he would have been able to easily OHKO me. Luckily that is not the case, and he does just go for another Draco Meteor, which means I can easily recover up the following turn. Unfortunately for me, he does predict that, even though it was very obvious. So now he can get a free switch out into the Arceus, which is a bit scary because now he knows that I do carry the Roar, so I know he's more than likely just going to go for the Shadow Claw. So now I can get a free switch out into my Godamus, and the following turn just burn him as he either goes for the Sword Dance or goes for another Shadow Claw. But he turns out to have the Shadow Force, and this is actually very, very good for me because now I can get a free opportunity to burn him, as I know I should be able to take that because I am max defense and almost nearly max HP, and I missed the Will-O-Wisp, and that could have been my only potential chance to completely cripple that Arceus and just, At this point, I was very, very scared, but I completely forgot about the fact that I do have my entry hazards and I still have my Lugia, so I don't really have anything to worry about it. so I guess it really isn't that big of a deal, as I'm able to burn the Dialga in the following turn because he's going to go for the Draco Meter. I'm actually going to bring in my Blissey, and even though I don't have any HP investments outside of the 4 EVs that are standard, I'm going to be able to take that like a fucking monster. Dear Lord, Blissey, you are just too... oh my god. Why is this thing? Why? See, people don't use Blissey No You for a good reason, because this thing is too damn good and is a fucking monster in Ubers. Sorry. Anyways, he's gonna go for another Draco Meter, and I know he's just basically firing off his Dialga, so I'm actually gonna go for the Wish. What I should have done was gone for the Seismic Toss, but then again, I knew I might have a chance to pass off my Wish to my Giratina, which I'm gonna do this turn, because after -4, I'm pretty positive I should be able to take a Draco Meteor, which means I will be able to get my Wish and be up to above the HP that I had before when I came in to take the Draco Meteor. But he actually pulls a double switch out to the Zekrom, obviously wanting to save his Dialga for Death Fodder, as I saved my Fortress for Death Fodder. But because I'm pretty sure this thing is banded, and because I'm actually running 16 speed EVs as opposed to 4 or 8, I should be able to easily outspeed the Zekrom and burn him with the Will-O-Wisp. And luckily it does hit, because even after -1, that outrage still does 51%, and if you're wondering why it's -1 and not -2, because Choice Band adds a +1 to a Pokemon's physical attack, and Will-O-Wisp minus is 2 your physical attack, so it's like being at -1 as opposed to -2. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, just leave a comment down below. So I'm gonna get a free switch out to my ability basically as Death Fodder. Now this is why staying in and risking the miss with the Will-O-Wisp was very, very key, because now I can get a free switch out into my Lugia, which means because he is burned, I know I can easily just roost up and eventually be up to multi-skill range. Unfortunately for me, he actually pulls a crit the first turn, which really isn't a big deal, because again, I know I can take a hit, so I can just recover up again and just go for roost. And you guys know my bad luck and the fact that this game hates me. He's gonna get a second crit. Now, as you're gonna see, he ends up I actually end up getting my own bit of hacks just to make him, or pay him back for that, sorry, and actually ends up hurting himself into confusion. But if he had not crit me the second turn with that outrage, then I would have been up to multi-skill range. So now I have to worry about the fact that he can easily bring in Mewtwo and OHKO me, or possibly 2-KO me with the Ice Beam. But then again, the entry hazards and the Life Orb and the Toxic are really racking up on this thing, so I'm pretty sure I should still be able to pull out this fight. All I have to worry about is going to be that Arceus, as actually no, because he is carrying Shadow Force, I should be able to easily win. When he does go for that, I can just roost up back up to multi-skill range. So yeah, at this point you guys basically know what happens. This battle is easily going to be mine, and that's going to be the 3-0 victory in my favor, while the rest of the battle plays. What I'm planning to do starting the 28th of this month is I'm actually going to have another week of daily uploads all the way up to August 4th, and I really want to do this just because I do still have a bunch of old battles saved up. I actually want to start my new Nuzlocke, and I also want to upload some more PO for those of you who like it, but I'm not guaranteeing anything just because I have a potential chance to actually go work with my father picking tobacco. Yes, very Mexican, I know, just shut up. And the reason why I'm going to do this is because we are a bit scarce on money, so you know, family first and all that over YouTube or anything. So yeah, on the off chance that my uploads become a little bit more rare, it is because I'm going to be spending my time working with my father. But yeah, with that guys, if you did enjoy the video, if you enjoyed the battle, you know what to do. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe to see more content. If you heard a vibration, that was my girlfriend texting me, sorry about that. And with that guys, I do believe I am out of here, so later. Bye.